Imagine ending a perfect day in the roaring 20s. Jazzy music, neon signs, shiny new gadgets, stylish clothes, and going to bed feeling like the future is nothing but progress and prosperity. Then imagine waking up to find out the entire economy accidentally stepped on a rake, hit itself in the face, and fell off the porch. That, in a nutshell, was the Great Depression, the biggest economic disaster the United States has ever experienced, and one that reshaped the world in the process. But to understand how this huge economic meltdown happened, we have to back up a bit. History doesn't usually collapse in a single moment. It slowly builds pressure until something finally snaps. So let's rewind to the early 1920s, a time when Americans were convinced life could only get better. Back then, the country was still shaking off the dust of World War I. People wanted fun, freedom, and a break from reality. And they got it. Cities exploded with growth. Technology advanced at lightning speed. Radios connected homes, cars filled the streets, and refrigerators were proudly showing off their ability to keep milk cold without requiring a daily visit from the Iceman. It wasn't just convenience that defined the decade, it was confidence. People believed in progress, in innovation, and in the idea that America was unstoppable. And with this confidence came a new cultural habit: buying things on credit. Why wait until you have the money when you can buy now and let future you deal with the consequences? It worked. For a while. But while cities partied like tomorrow didn't exist, the countryside told a very different story. Farmers who had thrived during World War I by feeding troops and allies suddenly faced plummeting prices once the war ended. Wheat, corn, cotton, everything dropped in value. Many farmers had taken out loans to buy tractors and equipment, believing demand would stay high forever. Instead, they found themselves producing more food than Americans needed, causing prices to fall even further. It was like running twice as fast on a treadmill that was slowing down. Yet most Americans weren't paying attention to the farmers' struggles. They were too busy chasing another kind of excitement: the stock market. By the mid-1920s, investing became America's favorite hobby. It didn't matter if you understood how stocks worked. Who cared? Everyone was making money, or at least everyone looked like they were making money. Stocks were rising so fast that people believed it was basically a money fountain that would never turn off. You could buy a stock with only a small down payment and borrow the rest, something called buying on margin. It made the market feel like a casino where the house always let you win. The problem was that the market wasn't reflecting reality. Companies weren't earning enough to support their skyrocketing stock prices. But with so much optimism and so much borrowed money, the bubble kept growing. Imagine inflating a giant balloon while insisting it could keep getting bigger forever. Spoiler, it can't. And by late 1929, the balloon was stretching pretty thin. It only took a few bad days to turn worry into full-blown panic. On October 29, 1929, the stock market crashed. Hard. Prices dropped faster than anyone thought possible. Investors rushed to sell, but nobody wanted to buy. Billions of dollars evaporated. And just like that, the optimism of the 1920s shattered. If the crash had only hurt wealthy investors, maybe the damage could have been contained. But the real problem was this: banks were heavily involved in the stock market too. Many had loaned out deposits to investors. When the market collapsed and those loans couldn't be repaid, the banks were suddenly in big trouble. This is where things spiraled. People panicked. They rushed to the banks to withdraw their money. Long lines formed outside, stretching around corners. But many banks simply didn't have the cash. When a bank failed, people lost every penny they had. Thousands of banks closed. Savings disappeared. Trust in the financial system collapsed practically overnight. And because American banks had been lending money to Europe after the war, the crisis quickly spread across the Atlantic. It was like pushing the first domino in a line, stretching across continents. As the early 1930s unfolded, the destruction became impossible to ignore. Businesses shut down, factories closed their doors, unemployment soared to 25%. 1 out of every 4 workers, entire industries collapsed. People who once lived comfortable lives suddenly found themselves in breadlines, waiting for a single meal. Shanty towns built from scrap metal and cardboard appeared everywhere, nicknamed Hoovervilles, after the president many blamed for the crisis. And as if economic collapse wasn't enough, nature decided to make things even worse. In the Great Plains, years of over-farming had damaged the soil. When drought struck, the land literally turned to dust. Winds created massive black storms that rolled over the landscape like something out of an apocalypse movie. People stuffed wet cloths under their doors trying to keep dirt out. Cattle suffocated. Crops died instantly. Schools shut down because children kept getting sick from the dust. Thousands of families lost everything and migrated west, hoping California would somehow save them, only to find thousands of others had the same idea. Meanwhile, President Herbert Hoover struggled to respond. He genuinely believed in limited government and thought the economy would eventually correct itself if people stayed confident. But confidence doesn't do much when you can't feed your kids. His efforts, though not non-existent, seemed totally inadequate. When he refused to grant early bonus payments to World War I veterans and used the army to remove protesters, the country's frustration boiled over. By 1933, Americans were ready for someone new, someone with a fresh strategy. That someone was Franklin D. Roosevelt. When Roosevelt took office, he immediately projected calm. He spoke directly to the American people through radio broadcasts, explaining what the government was doing in simple language, something unheard of at the time. And then he acted quickly. He temporarily closed every bank in the country. It sounds extreme, but it worked. It stopped the panic. Then he pushed Congress to pass emergency laws to stabilize the banking system. If the economy had been a sinking ship, Roosevelt's first action stopped the water from rushing in. But he didn't stop there. Roosevelt launched a wave of programs known as the New Deal, aimed at getting people back to work, rebuilding the economy, and preventing another collapse in the future. Millions of people were hired to build roads, bridges, parks, dams, schools, airports, the kind of infrastructure Americans still use today. Young men worked in forests and national parks, planting billions of trees, restoring landscapes, and creating trails. Electricity reached rural towns that had lived in the dark. Farmers received support to stabilize prices. Artists, writers, and musicians were even hired to document American life, paint murals, and create plays. It was the first time the government treated the arts as essential to national recovery. Beyond job programs, the New Deal introduced long-term safety nets, Social Security for retirees, insurance for bank deposits, and regulations preventing risky financial behavior. For the first time, Americans felt like the government was on their side during hard times. And through all of this, culture didn't stop. Writers captured the struggles of Dust Bowl migrants. Swing music brought joy into tired homes. Films like The Wizard of Oz and King Kong showed that imagination could still thrive even when reality felt grim. Recovery wasn't instant. Far from it. The Great Depression lasted nearly a decade. But slowly, steadily, the country began to rebuild. Confidence returned. Families regained hope. The economy started to breathe again. By the late 1930s, the worst was behind them. And by the early 1940s, the United States was preparing for a new challenge, one that would transform the economy once again, World War II. But that is another story. The Great Depression remains a reminder that progress isn't automatic. It can stall, collapse, or fall apart completely. But it's also a story about resilience, about ordinary people adapting, surviving, and rebuilding their world piece by piece. Now that, in the end, the Great Depression didn't just change the economy, it changed the country. It reshaped how Americans thought about government, about security, and about each other. And it proved that even in the darkest times, recovery is possible. with determination, cooperation, and maybe a little bit of Roosevelt-style optimism. And hey, if you enjoyed this video and you want more history explained in a simple, relatable way, don't forget to hit the subscribe button, drop a like, and share it with someone who loves learning new things, or someone who just needs a long video to keep them company while doing laundry. And most importantly, tell me in the comments what topics you'd like us to explore next. Your ideas help shape the channel, so don't be shy. See you in the next one.